Almaraz, in person, just so everyone knows, is not only a really good friend, a good guy, and a restaurateur. He owns a couple of great restaurants. Hey, why don't we just talk about that real quick? You have two different restaurants. Can you give us a quick summary of what they are? Because I've been there, I've eaten there, I've drank there, I've socialized there. I love your restaurants.
Well, first of all, thank you, beautiful, for having me on today. I really appreciate it. My favorite real estate agent in the Valley, who's
Thank you.
gives me great advice whenever I need it. Um, in 2008, myself and two partners decided we would get into the restaurant business, so we opened a craft beer bar next to the Fonda Theater in Hollywood called the Blue Palms Brew House. We've been open from 2008 to 2020 in Hollywood, so you'd go see a show, and then you come over and have some great food. The food is spectacular. We had 24 beers on tap, and the best craft beer like Southern California, all around. We really tried to highlight local brewers. COVID really affected Hollywood significantly, and we closed our doors and then went looking for the best location around that we thought would, have our product and people would really enjoy. We found a place in Northridge. We're now there at 8440 Balboa Boulevard, and it's the Blue Palm Brew House. It's a little more high end over there than we were in Hollywood. Great food, great drinks, full bar, great patio, and it's just really fun doing that part of the business and watching people like enjoy your food and enjoy your drinks.
It's, if I may add to it also, because I've been there several times. The service is fantastic. The food is fantastic. I love the atmosphere. I know this sounds silly, but the parking is so easy. Everything is just easy and nice and relaxed. And so to me, I always want to go there. I don't want to go and do a social anywhere else except for there or the Daily Outpost, which I love to hear about too.
Yeah, so the Daily Outpost, we opened about 6 to 8 months ago, and it's located at Ventura and Laurel Canyon, up in that second story, right by next to Shanghai Rose Dim Sum and Tender Greens. And the food is similar to Blue Palms. Great drinks, great space. We are kind of in the process of rebranding right now. We're going to look about another 30 days when we're going to come back really strong. We're open now for dinner. The writer's strike really affected our ability to get off the ground, as this Hollywood writer's strike and actor strike hurt Blue Palms. It hurt everybody. So we were more established over there, so it wasn't so much of a problem. But it's I think things are getting back to normal, and it should be really good for us moving forward. So anyway, I know Scott's one of the biggest supporters. I always appreciate you talking me up, talking the restaurant.
Of course.
My two partners love it. My partner Brian Lenzo is the recipes are all his, and then my brother Steve is the beer genius. So it's great. It's a good team.
Perfect. I love the atmosphere there too, because you got the high ceilings, almost has kind of a cool industrial vibe. Really, really open. The kitchen's wide open. Everything's open, and then you have outdoor seating too, which I think is great. So yeah, I think it's going to be just another hot location.
By the way, we have this huge grass area that we're hoping, working with the landlord, we have permission to use it. We'd like to actually do some sort of like concerts, Sunday night concerts, and then have people come out and get food, beer, and even BYOB and just have a great time. So we're working on that, hopefully to be in the future.
Perfect. Well, thanks for sharing that with us. And I didn't even say who you are. So David Almaraz is a real estate and business litigator, attorney, and really, I mean, I've worked with you, and you're just great. The thing I like about David a lot, he's with Grant Shannon, and a great company, just a great firm, is the way you work is because you stay calm, you stay focused. You have a lot of attorneys don't have the charm you have. I think that's got to really help you a lot. And of course, the hair doesn't hurt either. But you do. So you're like the beautiful balance. But I've also seen that you work things out. You're very focused, very on top of it. And then there's a time though when I've seen when the gloves had to come off with you, and I went like, oh shit. So it's very different. So that's a great balance to me. So I've worked with you multiple times, and you're my go-to, and I really appreciate you being here.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it. And, like I said, we're open now for dinner. We're open now for dinner. And then there's a time though when I've seen when the gloves had to come off with you, and I went like, oh shit. So it's very different. So that's a great balance to me. So I've worked with you multiple times, and you're my go-to, and I really appreciate you being here. Well, thanks. I appreciate it. And I've been doing this for about 25 years now. Been at Grand Chena now for 5 years. I'm one of the shareholders here. We have a
Great.
great team. As Scott said, I specialize in business or real estate litigation and small cases. About 30% of my practice is commercial and residential evictions, and we have a great little team here. To a case that came basically one vote away from going to the U.S. Supreme Court over a collection matter that I was able to win in the trial court, and the other side kept appealing, and the U.S. Supreme Court almost took the case up. So I have a wide variety of cases that I certainly enjoy working on, wide variety of clients, and I think what sets me apart, or my practice and my firm, is I really approach it from helping my clients make smart business decisions. And litigation is just another business decision. It's another business task. It's a strategy, and I help my clients take their emotion at and look at it from that business perspective. Most of the time, as Scott says, I like to do it with a smile and work with the other side and come to a resolution that makes sense for each and every one of my clients and their clients. But there are times when you have to be that guy, and I don't mind doing that. I actually kind of enjoy it. I think it takes time to become that guy. I think if you're always that guy, I don't think you're as effective as somebody who can pick up a phone and have a conversation. So
Agreed.
Really enjoy my work, and I really enjoy what we're doing these days.
Well, I like I said, I love working with you. It reminds me of one of the deals, without mentioning names, that we worked on together. That I'll just give a little intro, but then, I mean, it was challenging as hell because when you brought me in, I mean, how long on this particular deal? Can we say punk rocker just for fun?
Yeah, the punk rocker. So, you don't really, I don't know if I've ever given you the full story. Maybe I did. I mean, I was working on that case for 10 years. And
was it 10 years?
It was
Oh my
about
God.
10 years. His father had come to me, and he had this, condo, or sort of like a mixed-use space that he was renting. And in his agreement, he had the ability to purchase it at a certain price. And this owner of this complex, they were friendly, and for whatever reason, he couldn't purchase now. So the guy kept telling him, I'll honor your option agreement. And then the guy went ahead and sold the whole entire complex, and didn't tell him that he had sold it, didn't give them his right of first refusal that he had. And when you look at the documents, they'd all expired anyway. So he comes to me, the new owners come in and says, well, I had an agreement with him that I could honor it. And I got involved, and I'm not sure, I don't think I was even getting paid at this point. But I met with him on multiple times, and we put a story together, and I think he had a good story to tell, that
I agree.
he had been told that he had the right for this option. And I met with the new owners, and they were skeptical, but they also liked the idea. They liked our client, and they said, hey, we want to do a deal. So we do a deal in 2018 or 19, and he says, I need a year to get my financing in place because he's in the music business, and I'm just starting to take off, and this is what I'm going to do.
Right.
Well, that 2019 goes into 2020, and of course we know what happens in 2020.
Right.
And
what a nightmare.
Yeah, it's just nightmare. It's a nightmare for the legal business, for certainly the music business, the restaurant business. He can't work. And so the year comes by, and the owner says, your year's gone by, your option's gone. And we say, no, there was an intervening factor that still allows us to purchase the property at the price.
That's actually like an act of God, right?
It's an act of God. So we're going back and forth, and now it's like, it looks like we're going to have to file a lawsuit. And as you said, I mean, I'm trying to help my client make the best business decision, and he doesn't have tons of money, but this house is really important to him.
Yes. For a lot of reasons.
For a lot of reasons, exactly. Yeah. Those are the things we can't talk about, but it's always
You're funny.
And they then agreed to make a deal with us again. And this is a lot of me spending hours on the phone with their representative negotiating a deal. And we finally negotiated a deal, and we're working through the process. And you know, the hard part is my client had lived there for 10 years, and yet he's purchasing the property. And disclosures have to be made, and we're kind of doing this piecemeal. And it dawns on me that, you know, we can really get some really traction and we can negotiate terms if we get a real estate broker agent involved who can do the inspections and
Right.
point out the problems with the property.
I
So
believe that was my first question. So you guys are making a deal. Have you inspected yet? And I remember he was saying, "Well, no." I said, "Well, you've got to inspect because you're not going to pay top dollar for something if X, Y, Z is wrong, right? Because you didn't own the place."
yeah.
And so we went through that. Yeah, that was really an interesting process.
So I brought Scott in, and you know, he's the first.
Hey, you don't
person
have to say you don't have to say Scott third person. I'm
Yeah.
right here in front
I
of
brought
you.
you in. Yes, I brought
Okay,
you in.
there we go.
And you know, Scott, the way Scott came in is the professional came in and said, "Hey guys, I know how to do this. I know this is tricky financing, but we have to follow, you know, A, B, C, D, and E." And the sellers were blown away. Like they're like, "I thought this was like an easy deal." And he's like, "That's not the way it works." And then it started getting ugly, and we started asking for, you know, repairs to be made, representations to be made, and then going through the financing. And I don't know, Scott, how many times did this deal almost fall apart? You know, 5 to 10 times. And
Yeah, it almost fell apart several times, but what held it together for me, in my mind, was you were the glue. So you knew everything that was going on. You had like this looking down on it, and you brought in the right people, and you're the one that kept them from going crazy.
Yeah.
So it could have gone crazy at any point, but seriously, it was you. I'd come to you, you stay calm, you figure it out, you talk to them, and that to me is one of your special talents.
well, thank you. By the way, the other part of like being a lawyer or putting a deal like this together is also playing almost psychiatrist or you know, arbitrator. And our punk rocker client, you know, had family he had to deal with, and I had to talk to family, and I had to convince
That's right.
and convince the seller. And you know, the seller and I actually became pretty good friends. And they don't live in the state, and we keep talking about getting together. But was a good deal, and I can share that my client is extremely happy, and he owns the property now.
Yep.
Escrow closed, and you know, it's funny. I have these. I love big cases. You know, I've had a 2-month trial in downtown LA over the sale of 2 buildings, and I've had the case in front of the Supreme Court. But you know, the real satisfying cases are sort of these smaller cases where you really make a personal impact with somebody. And
I agree.
just recently, I had a similar case but different. It was a partition action between a mother and daughter, and the daughter had brought me in. Somebody referred me to the daughter, and this was extreme animosity between family members, and was trying to negotiate a deal, and they wanted to go to trial. And you know, it got really expensive, and finally got my client to, and the other side, to understand the business decision is, let's get this property sold. It's worth a lot of money, and you take that money and you never have to talk to each other again and be happy. Well, this property was down south, and of course I needed a real estate agent to market it. And of course there's only one person I called, and I called Scott. And so the one thing that's great about you is that not only are you just great when you're the person, but I don't know if there's anybody in LA that has a bigger Rolodex than you in this city. And so I called you, and you referred me to somebody that was more his area than yours.
Right.
And we hired him. Was much better than the people they were recommending. And that sale took 9 months, multiple escrows that fell out, multiple refusals to sign documents, yelling, screaming. And last week we closed again on that deal. And I will tell you, about 4 weeks ago, no, maybe 2 months ago, I was in Oceanside at 9 o'clock at night. I had settled every single term, and
Nice.
the only thing holding up the deal was who got the bookcase. Neither side would give on the bookcase, and the deal fell apart. And I walked out of, left Oceanside, not having a deal over a bookcase. And then you know, what you end up doing is you all take a break, you then regroup, and you start explaining to your client that, you know, there are more important things in life than a bookcase. And if the other side really wants to be that petty, then let them be the petty person, you know, not
Right.
you, and do the right decision, because it's more important that you close this deal and move on with your life. And it ended up
Absolutely.
working out really well. So
Now, was it Justin?
it was
that did-
Justin. Yes, Justin
So,
Miller.
Justin Miller, what a great agent. He is so poised and so smart. Remind me to tell you about a deal that we did once in the marina where we had to sell this property and we had to actually change the HOA docs. And I was thinking, well, what? I mean, Justin said, well, what we're going to do is this and this and this and this. And we brought the right attorney in and closed the deal that never should have closed. But this isn't about me, though. I'll tell you about that at a different time.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that worked out, but it's all about the bookcase.
It's all about the bookcase. And, you know, like you said, we'll give Justin a shout out, was spectacular. And he had a younger agent working with him out in Oceanside,
Right.
named Darren. And, you know, experience matters. And Darren did a great job. And Darren was like, you know, boots on the ground. But it's always, you know, that experience, when it gets a little hairy and gets a little ugly, having the experience to step back and say, I've seen this before, I've done this before,
Right.
it's all going to work out. And then that's what you do. That's the calmness that you have. And I know stories as crazy crazy can be. And I end up being, they wrote an article about us in California Lawyer. My client owned a shopping center, and they were going to build a alcohol treatment center in that shopping center. And so they negotiated a lease, and they negotiated, I don't know, $1 million in tenant improvement allowance. So they're working on the tenant improvement allowance, and my client gives them the money. And the other side inserts into the lease a arbitration provision that says any dispute has to be arbitrated in front of this arbitration name that's very similar to AAA, but it's not AAA. And of course, my client and the lawyers say, well, okay, it's an arbitration, that's fine. You know, we'll find the right arbitrator. And they agree. So they start doing the build out, and within 2 weeks they say there's a dispute on the tenant improvement allowance. We want to go to arbitration. And my client's like, okay, we don't really think there's a dispute, but we'll go to arbitration. And we're all set to go to arbitration. My old firm, one of the lawyers gets a call from another landlord's attorney that says, I just went to arbitration with these guys, and the arbitrator gave a $750,000 judgment over like a $100,000 tenant improvement dispute. And he said it just did not smell right, it was shady, and we can't get it overturned. Well, we stopped the arbitration, filed a lawsuit, and it turns out that the arbitrator and the tenants, they were all in it together.
Wow.
And this was a scam to create disputes with landlords and then get in front of this arbitrator and then have the arbitrator make a huge award in their favor, because under California law, the only way you can overturn an arbitration award is if you can show that there's been fraud. The arbitrator's basically committed fraud. And the arbitrator doesn't have to follow the law. So this is like a caveat of, you know, you careful if you always go to arbitration. You have to make sure, you know, you do your investigation, has to be the right case. But I've never been a fan of arbitration since. But we ended up getting a judgment for our clients, a big default judgment against some of the defendants, some money from my clients. Another landlord who was in the same situation as us joined the lawsuit, and this judge was the judge. And anyway, he was the settlement officer in downtown LA today, and I said, I hadn't seen him in about 15 years, and I said, Judge Moore, do you remember? And he's like, oh my God, portion of the case where the one part he ruled against us, we took him up on appeal, and we won on appeal, and he's like, yeah, you reversed me, and I'm like, sometimes it happens, Judge. But that's the fun part, you know, the law, it's every day's different, and the challenges and the paper and then the arguing. It's all fun, and
I don't know how you do it, and with a smile.
yeah, servicing your clients. What's really been fun lately is, our firm is expanding. We have about 12 lawyers, and we want to keep growing, and it's mentoring young lawyers. I'm really enjoying that process right now, and teaching
That's great.
lawyers how to become better lawyers and to do their thing. And I don't know where I find time to do it, but I do, and then get my work done, and it's fun. It's a lot of fun. So
That's awesome. Is there any cause or charity that moves you, that touches your heart that you'd like to share?
sure, and thank you. So for the last, I'd say 15 to 16 years, I have been involved with the Hollywood YMCA. And I think for the last 12 years, I've been their board chair. Every time I try to get down, they step down, they keep making me come back up. We service the Hollywood area. You would think it's just a swim-in gym, but we have a teen center. We provide a home for kids in the Hollywood area that don't have a place to go after school. We provide tutoring. We give them a safe space, let them exercise. We send them to
That's
camp
great.
every summer in the mountains. They have a fantastic time. We also have a youth and government program where the high school kids get to go up to Sacramento. And in fact, this year our Hollywood representative became the student governor for the entire state of California. It was a huge honor. We help seniors. No one's turned away, so we provide financial aid to everybody. And the stories I get to hear when a kid who went through my teen center, now is in college or becoming a doctor. That's why we do it. And we are a great organization. The Y is a fantastic organization. Just in addition to healthy body, healthy mind, the services we provide there. We had a shelter for women that we closed about 10 years ago because it turned out there were programs that were just state programs that were just better at doing it than us. But we did it for about 20 years, and we got a lot of women to live up there, transition, learn skills, and then go out into the workforce. And it's just a great organization, an iconic building, and we're actually in the middle of a campaign where we're going to turn our courtyard into a sport court. People can play, and so that's keeping me very busy these days. So it's great.
That's great. Thanks for sharing that. I love that you're doing that, because to me, it starts with the kids.
Yes.
And if you can get them on the right course, to me, the ripple effect of that into the world is immeasurable. Yeah. And so that's great. I think it's great that you're doing that.
Hopefully, the people who listen and just realize that these kids in Hollywood, and you think Hollywood's not, they've never seen a beach, they've never been in the mountains, and we take all this stuff for granted and realize that. I hope one of the things people listening is, hey, if you have a chance to give back, because you and I have families, and you and I share war stories of all the great opportunities our kids get to enjoy, and we just hope that want to make sure other people get to enjoy it as well.
Yeah, well, I think that's great, and so really appreciate that.